you are one of the very special creators that we basically can just go, this is brilliant, Amy, thank you so much, this is gorgeous, just keep going.
Journey with Clip started at the beginning of this year because I went to a UGC event, and Maria, I'm pretty sure it was you who was at that.
I'm Maria. I'm one of the founders of Clip. There's other two founders, and we also have Andrea, part of the team, who's helping us with operations and the approval of creators. I'll just let the girls introduce themselves.
So my name's Nicola, and together with Ali, we are giving feedback to creators' clips. So you probably saw emails from us.
Yeah, definitely.
And obviously you are one of the very special creators that we basically can just go, this is brilliant, Amy, thank you so much, this is gorgeous, just keep going. So you're making our work very, very easy.
You'll probably see emails from me too. I'm Ali, and we've been now reviewing clips since the new year, since January, would it be?
Yeah.
So yeah, and once again too, you're always, when we were starting this podcast, we were like, okay, we want to have creators as a part of it. You were straight away one of the first names that popped up, because we're like, anytime we get one of your videos to review, we automatically know that it's going to be good, or you'll always do the key bits. I'm like, yes, tick, 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 that you always do it perfectly and do it great. So that's why today we were like, okay, we have to get her on the podcast. We have to ask her some questions and find out, even to be honest, about your journey too and everything, and how you even came to be on the clip, how you found the clip. So take it away. Tell us a bit about yourself, I suppose.
Oh, thank you so much. That's lovely, and it's high praise from you guys as well. So thank you. And yeah, whenever those emails come through for feedback, I love it. Because in our profession, sometimes to get feedback and also to get constructive feedback as well, because a lot of people will just tell you what you want to hear. So yeah, I really value you guys' the input. But yeah, I think to be honest, my journey with Clip started at the beginning of this year because I went to a UGC event, and Maria, I'm pretty sure it was you who was at that. Yeah, it was.
This is a plot twist.
This is a plot twist because I don't remember you being there.
I probably, I don't know.
I'm trying to understand.
Yeah, I don't think we had a conversation, but I remember you had a stall there, you had a game, and I won a tote bag, and I was like, yeah, it says Clip on it. And then
you have a tote bag, yes!
Yeah, I got a tote bag. And they were doing a panel, and I put a question to the creative panel and said, if you're a creator that you don't want to niche down, you want to work across multiple niches, what do you recommend? Because until that point, the panel had been saying you've got to niche down, find your niche to be successful as a creator, etc. And I kind of disagreed with it. And I remember, Maria, you answered the question and you said, join Clip. If you don't want to niche down, join Clip. And so I did the next day. And never looked back. Clip.
That's amazing. Because we were in one of the previous episodes, we talked about the difference between influencers and content creators. And I think a lot of the times it's crazy to think that even professionals, people who are in this industry and they're creating this industry, are confused too. 100%. And I feel like, how are new or potential creators supposed to know? This is basically why we started this podcast in the first place, is to make people understand the differences so they can find out about themselves if they actually want to be a creator, as you said, because you were a brilliant example of someone who just didn't want to kind of niche in and give yourself those boundaries. Or are you do you want to be an influencer, or someone who's very, directed and focused on specific space online? So I think this is a very important point that you made straight away. And we made a great choice, girls, didn't we?
Amazing. It was just, it was honestly, I don't think we could have had a better creator than you, Amy, because I think, just to give you some context, so when we started Clip, we started the last year in April, and I was manually vetting the creators. So I was going through through the profiles. We didn't have the product videos that you had to upload. We only had the intro video. So I was going pretty much with my guts to try to understand if there'll be, they
Potential.
would have the skill set to create high quality videos. And yeah, obviously, Ali and Nicola were there from pretty much from the beginning. And we were just talking in the last podcast about how was the process of like approving them and how did I find it, which was a great topic, to be honest, and a great question. But yeah, just going back to the idea of seeing a creator from the very first beginning, without, because there were, at this point, I'm not approving creators anymore. We have Andrea who's doing this, and I saw you, and I was just like, oh my God, she's amazing. And then, you know straight away, you don't have to go through a lot of videos, because most of the creators will upload more than 3 product videos in their portfolio. And you'll be like, playing the first one, playing the second one, playing the third one. If there's a fourth one, you'll be like, okay, I'm going to play the fourth one just to make sure that, is the right choice. But with you, it was just like, playing the first one, like, oh yeah, that's straight away, like, approved. You don't have to go through a process so I think it's great to have you as a first creator, because you also, I think, if I'm not mistaken, and the girls could also agree with me, we can definitely see a huge improvement. Even though your videos were absolutely amazing from the beginning, you were clearly taken their recommendations and advice into account, and then now they're just extraordinary, like, from my point of view, obviously, but they can also confirm that. So again, thank you so much for being here. And I think, yeah, it's one of the best choices we've ever made.
Oh, I feel like I'm going to leave this podcast with barely getting my head through the door. So thank you so much. I look at some of my videos I did even at the start of this year, and they give me the ick. They give me the fear when I look at them, because I know that's really harsh on myself, because there was nothing particularly wrong with them, but the way I do my videos now is very different, because you're constantly learning as a UGC creator, and I think the minute you stop learning is the minute that something's perhaps a bit gone awry. But
I love that. That's really nice. And where would you say, so like getting into about even your journey and stuff as well?
Back in 2020, when we were deep into lockdown, I was having a crisis of life, I think, because I also work part-time for the NHS, and I was one of the people that still had to work through lockdown, which I hated. I really wanted to be that person that was getting all of their home DIY done or whatever, but I was there working, and then the people who weren't working hated that they couldn't work. So I don't think anybody was happy in lockdown. But in that period, I realised I absolutely loved fitness, and I decided to train and then become a fitness instructor. At the time, people weren't going to face-to-face classes, so I decided to set it all up online. I set up my own social media for it, etc. And that taught me a lot about managing a business, but also marketing, because I had to sell myself through Instagram at the time. And I did gain a few thousand followers, which then enabled me to work with brands. And at the time, I didn't know that was UGC. I don't really think UGC was much of a thing back in 2020. And I certainly wasn't being paid for every single one brand collaboration. I just thought I was lucky to work on a gifted basis with these brands. And then I think fast forward maybe a year, 18 months, I decided actually, I fell out of love with it, because then it became my job, and then I didn't want to work out for myself, and I stopped. And I stopped entirely, stopped my accounts and everything like that. And then I think a year after that, I realised I miss the creative side of it, because that's something in my NHS job I don't get to do. I don't get to be creative. And that's when I thought, okay, well, let's give UGC a go, because in the meantime, I'd seen lots of other people doing it. I knew that that's what I had originally been doing with brands. And so I'd say I officially kicked that off in December last year. And that's when I knew I sort of pitched myself as a UGC creator fully, rather than a sort of a micro influencer doing UGC. And that's when it grew from there. Clip was actually the very first platform that I joined, and it really helped to nurture me along the way. And I think if I could give one piece of advice to any new creator, it would be to join a platform, because I think that's the safest space for you to start working with brands and to gain your experience, because it's almost like you've got a little support team around you when you're on a platform, which if you're working with brands on your own, you don't have that. You don't have a manager like in a normal job to go to for some guidance if you've got a question. Whereas if you're working with a platform, you've got that security to get it under your feet.
Oh, such an interesting journey. Like it's incredible how you would think that, okay, I want to shift into something completely different, would actually unlock something that you have never thought about necessarily, like UGC, like talking about UGC, of course. So that's really inspirational, to be honest.
Well, yeah, I mean, it's been a whirlwind of a journey, and this year I'm hoping to ditch the 9 to 5 job and become a full-time creator. So,
yeah. Yeah, Nicola just did this this year. I think March was her first full-time content creator month, right?
Yeah, so I did leave my job the end of March. So technically April was like the first full time, and technically it was first full 2 weeks because I took 2 weeks holiday first to restart. So now I count May as like my first full time month, which I would say I do regret not doing it quicker and earlier on. If I could share one little piece of advice with you, Amy, is that there perhaps might not be a moment when your like UGC earnings is going to be enough for you to be like, now I can, leave my job. But what I would say is that you do not realize how much time you actually do have when you're freelance to just have more job and more work to do that. So I would say do not wait for that golden moment when you're like, now I can leave my job. I think once you close that door, that's when another door opens. So that's the only tiny thing I would say to myself a couple months ago. Obviously, that is completely your journey, and I think it's quite an exciting one, to be fair. So it would be amazing to see you doing that.
Yeah, I love that you've said that, because that's what I've been telling people around me. They're like, oh, you need to wait until you're in a position to do it. And I'm like, yeah, but if I'm earning this now, and then all of a sudden I've got all of this free time to do more UGC work, I will then reach it. I can never get to that point while balancing 2 jobs. It's just too much. So
obviously trying to do more things to then get more confidence as well. And, worst case scenario, you'll just get another job if it doesn't work. That's my mindset right now. And I'm like, it can still go wrong. And if it does, then I'm still a human being with a CV, so I'll be fine.
I went and actually heard a quote the other day, which is really good for this. It was like, what if it fails? And it was like an entrepreneur, and they were like, everyone always tells me, what if it fails? And they were like, I'll work to 65. That's the worst that can happen. You'll go back and you'll work a normal job. And I was like, that's mad.
Not the end of the world.
That's the only Even with me having my own business, I wanted it to have it since forever. I knew this, but I was still working for someone else. And then it's not like I hated my job. I loved it, but I could see so many like mistakes and stuff like that. And I was just like, I could have done it differently. I could have made this better and blah, blah, blah. I waited too much, I think, because I could have done it earlier. Creators are listening to it, and you have, the drive and the passion. And obviously when you be on your own and have your own, like, be the freelancer or, full-time on this path, you will want to make it work because it's you, and you will have to work for you, and you won't feel like, oh, I have to work with someone else, I'm doing this job. You won't give 100% if you're working for someone else. I was a hardworking person, and I would have given my 100%, but because company, the whatever, it didn't feel good for me, I was just giving only 90%, Whereas with Clip, obviously, I'm trying to give my 110, whatever, 200 if there's something like that. But throw yourself out there and start doing it.
I've worked for nearly 10 years at my NHS job, and it's such a big organisation.
Wow.
So we cover the entire of Essex. We do mental health, etc. And I say to my team all the time, like, if we don't meet that deadline, it's okay. Like, we're back-end staff, we're not front-facing, nobody's going to die, the world's going to keep turning, you've got to put yourself first. But yeah, it is that whole thing of, I think, as Maria said, you have a different mentality when you're working for yourself because you want it to work, and and it's you're more invested.
Obviously now you've completed numerous different UGC deals and like campaigns. What would you say, this is the juicy one, has been your red flag or worst?
I have had a bad experience with a particular brand who didn't understand personal boundaries, I would say. And I don't think
Oh no.
and I don't think the brand owner had the right morals and the right approach to what a creator was doing. There are also brands who don't understand the meaning of a revision versus a complete reshoot and free, 180 of what they want. So yeah, I have experienced that. And actually, I worked with them a little while ago, a few months ago, and then they'd hired a social media manager who then reached out to me and said, they're looking for some more content. Would you be interested? And I said, if I'm dealing with you, then fine. And I didn't hear anything else after that. And then it turns out that the brand didn't pay her whilst they were, she was meant to be on a retainer as their social media manager.
No.
Had a contract in place. They didn't pay her. And she said, look, if I can give you one piece of advice, stay away from them. And I was like, well, that's the vibe that I got them the first time.
Oh no.
Yeah, I think she was going to wait, and obviously I said, well, as long as you've got a contract in place, you might need to then go down the legal route to get that money back. Fortunately, I haven't been in that position, but yeah, the guy who owned this brand, I just don't think had the right morals at all.
Oh gosh,
that's shocking. That is juicy though.
This is why it's important to talk to other creators and build your own little UGC community, because we talk to each other. You know, brands might not realize it, but we do, and that's what's important, because they're your support network. They're the people you go to sometimes for advice and questions, and I love it when people come to me for advice and questions. But it's that whole thing. We talk to each other, support each other, and if somebody says steer clear, then you steer clear.
I think too what you mentioned there in terms of payment, that's a massive thing within the industry. Sometimes, like for me, when I was starting out, that's why I, for example, found the clip so safe, because I was like, I know I'm getting paid, I know no one can take advantage. Whereas there is times when I've heard horror stories of people and like their content's been getting used for months and they haven't got paid. Then like there's a whole horrible side to it too that people do just get took advantage of.
I completely agree. That's why it's nice, like you say, to have a platform. You're paid, it's sort of done, dusted. You can almost wipe your hands of it in a sense. Obviously, I like to go back and check how my videos are done for that brand, for example, just so that I can see. But in terms of your payment and you're working with that brand, it's finished. It's a nice tick in the box to say it's done and everything's been followed through properly. So yeah, you definitely have that security by working through platforms like Clip.
I think our first interaction over email with you, Amy, was in regards to situation with the brand that was literally harassing you, right? So this is another, red flag. So basically what happened is that we used to display the contact number of the creators for delivery purposes. That was stated. And I got an email from Amy being like, she was so nice. She was so polite. Like, bless you. You were just like, oh, I have a situation. I really don't know how to handle it because blah, blah, blah. So basically what they did is they harassed her through WhatsApp. They called her like 1,000,000 times. They messaged her 1,000,000 times of like, when is the video ready, or stuff like that. And obviously we try to keep the conversation inside the platform for these reasons, so that our creators don't get harassed. My concern was that these people are just taking advantage of this, not having boundaries, and literally harassing people. Like, why are you doing this, brands? Please stop.
Yeah.
If there's any brands that are doing this is not ethical at all.
Hashtag stop de-harassment.
Yeah. Start a movement.
Please.
It was wild. I mean, he was messaging me on like 9 o'clock on a Sunday evening. Can I call you to talk about it? And I was like, no, this is my personal number. But I have to say, I did. I reached out to Maria, and you were on it straight away. I think like within a couple of hours you'd answered me and were like, I'm going to talk to them, we'll get it sorted, da, da, da. And at that point I didn't really know how to approach it, because I was kind of like, is it going to impact my working relationship with that brand? Am I going to submit something and then they're going to give me a bad review now because of this? But it got to the point where I really didn't care in the end. It had gone on for so long. They'd been such a nuisance. But yeah, the support that I had for Maria, I don't know what I would have done if I hadn't had that backing from you. Thank you.
Oh, this is another reason why Clip is so brilliant. And as Amy said, from her perspective to go with the platform is because you do have that support. Saying that, not every platform, unfortunately, is going to give you the support, because not every platform is like the content focused and based. So most of the platforms, unfortunately, as a marketing agency would, will go where the money is directly coming from. So they're not looking at the, at you, Amy, as because you created the content and you made the money for them. No, they're going to be looking at it. No, the client pays directly. So this is what we need to put our time and effort into. And this is obviously when they're losing your trust, you're feeling safe with that agency, which is essentially the only reason why you would probably go with the agency in the first place, right? So platform. So I think this is a very important point is, for especially freshly baked new content creators to actually join Clip and see how easy and also to how easy it is, but also to avoid situations like that in the future.
We as a platform, we do care about the creators, because at the end of the day, if we don't have creators, we don't have a business. Also do understand the time and effort that you put into it, and therefore the brands should be more conscious about it and more respectful. I'm trying to say this pretty much in every podcast, because we'll definitely have a conversation around this topic as well, because I really want you to really expose like how long it takes you to make a 15-second video. Because when you see it from outside as a brand, you'll be like, 15 minutes, 15 seconds video is just like nothing, it's 15 seconds. Yeah, but do you understand how much b-roll is behind this, and how much shots, and like, oh, the light is not good, oh damn it, my microphone was not working, or it's things like that.
Hunting for the light as well, just those little things when you're actually all of those things, it all comes into the play here.
So again, thank you so much for all the creators out there that are on Clip, and that they're doing an amazing job, and they're listening to our feedback, and they're still bearing with us, because we're still a small team, still at the beginning, still trying to understand what's best in terms of the platform and features and payments as well. I know a lot of creators are complaining about that, and I truly understand it. I 100% understand that, but it's still work in progress for us. We're trying to add features that will bring more money to the creators, hopefully, as well. But yeah, thanks for the understanding and the patience. It's still a journey, so take it easily, please.
Definitely, but the level of transparency here, I think, is what we need. It's not it's not the founders kind of hiding behind anything like some platforms would, or things that we just don't understand why it happens. I feel like you guys are just transparent about it, and I feel like that's what needs to be cultivated and explored more in the whole UGC world in general, because there's still a lot of gray areas in our industry, and I feel like the more we talk about it and the more we kind of make it heard, the better for us, but also for the future, for the brands to understand more. A lot of brands don't understand, as we spoke before, they don't understand the effort and what it takes. They probably imagine it to just go to groceries, grab some toasts or whatever. Like, this, unfortunately, it's not like that. It's a service that we're providing at the end of the day, like they do. So I think the more awareness there is, and the more we talk about it, the better for the whole community.
How would you describe like a best brief from a creator's perspective? What's going to help you better understand what the brand wants, and what would you like to see in there? So you'd be like, okay, I got it, like 100%. I don't need any questions. I'm
ready.
Fine.
What's really interesting is I can always tell when a brand has done this before, when they've worked with a UGC creator before, because the brief will be completely different. My worst nightmare is when the brief doesn't even say any mention, like anything they want mentioned in it. It just says this is the product and have at it. And I think, oh my God, I don't even know any direction here. But what I love, and the way I plan my videos feeds into this as well. So I always have a trusty notepad. Me and my followers, that goes everywhere with me, that notepad. And the things that I always look for is obviously the basics. How long is the video length got to be? Some brands want it in landscape, portrait, different aspect ratios, etc. I always want to know that. But then when they tell me their specific mentions, so things that they definitely want put into that video, that helps me shape that, because then I know my script needs to be based around those points that they want in here. What's also very helpful for me is, what do they want to get out of it? So do they want to just raise brand awareness of this product, or
Objective.
do they want specific sales, or do they want to go viral, and that kind of thing? Like, what is their ultimate goal, and who are they trying to appeal to? That's not even a lot of information, to be honest with you, and that's what's going to give you your building blocks for that video, and then everything else you can plan around that, because you know the journey that video's got to go on, you know the things you've got to mention, and you know what its goal is and how you need to structure it to hit that goal. And I think that's all it comes down to. Obviously, sometimes you get a brand that will give you a script, and some of them will want you to read it word for word.
Do you like a script?
That's a good question, yeah.
I like a script if there's a little bit of creative freedom in there, because sometimes there'll be a script and it just won't sound like anything at all that I would ever say. And sometimes also you'll have a foreign brand that wants to branch into the UK market, but their script will be very from the perspective of, say they're American, the script will be very American. So me reading it just doesn't make sense with my Essex accent. So I need a little bit of creative freedom in a script. So there are days when I look at it and I go, thank God there's scripts, because I couldn't be bothered to write a script today. You know, if you've got loads and loads and loads and you think, oh, that's a good win, as long as there's some things, there's that wiggle room where I can change some things.
Yeah, I think that's a great answer to this, because I think it's something that like divides community sometimes, isn't it? It's like the script versus like, what do you want an objective? Because some creators are like, no, I don't care, like I just want to know exactly what needs to be said. And other creators are like, actually, you buy my service, you buy my experience and my knowledge about this, so basically let me do my job as well. But then other times, as you said, it's like, you know, it's my second day of my period and I still need to record this video and you are asking me to tell the world that, you know, hi besties. No, this is not happening. Sorry.
That's very true. Yeah.
So it just won't be natural, wouldn't it? And it's just against the whole idea sometimes. But it's nice. It's good to see that your approach is quite flexible as well.
I agree. I feel like it's all about being flexible, because I'm the exact same, that like it comes down to the brand. Some days if they give me a script, I'm like, okay, that brand really knows what they want, so it makes my life easier. Whereas I feel like nearly sometimes, like you said, if a brand doesn't even like list what their aim is or the key purpose, if it's building awareness, what it actually is, then I'm sitting like, this is going to be so many re-edits, or are they going to push back? And for me, I'm like, I'll always try to do a video that, like, in the hope I don't have to do re-edits, because I'll try to ask all the questions up front, like even with caption and stuff too, that you know it's okay. But I completely agree too. I'm definitely, because I've spoke to creators too who are incredibly passionate about, I don't want a script, it's my creative control. But then I'm sitting on the other side, I'm like, but a script's quite handy. Like sometimes it's good, and as long as you can actually build from that too, it's fine. That I personally don't have any issues, because I'm like, at the end of the day, yes, you're hiring me to fulfill a service. However, it's for your brand. So like, let's make sure you're completely happy and you have that vision, and I can just recreate that vision for you. Yeah. Because that makes everyone happy.
Yeah. I think it's that whole thing that we're working for that brand. We're supporting that brand. Well, you know, it's all that whole customer. The customer says is right.
I think it's also a challenge for us as a platform to try to make it more clear for brands what they want. I think we might need to restructure a bit the way brands are creating their campaign, because you can't really see this on your end as a creator, but you will see it when it comes to the brief details. You can see there's some, you know, the duration of the video, you can see the type of video, you can see the requirements and so on. But on the brand side, basically we ask them like, what kind of video do you want? You should make that smarter, you know, and be like, okay, what's your objective? Because most of the brands, I think they don't even know what they want, so they're just throwing stuff in there, but there might not be really relevant. I mean, you also, Amy, probably know what I'm referring to, because it's just a lot of information about the product or the brand, which I like. that's nice, but this is not going to help me understand what you're looking for.
Yeah.
So we might also need to tweak that part a bit, just to help the creators have a smoother journey on the platform. The biggest challenge here is the fact that brands don't really know what they want. Even when we put a brief out there, we're just like, what do I want? Is this video going to work? We don't even know either, but we're at least trying to,
Test it
okay, we
out.
have some, test it out. We have some hooks, we have some CTAs.
I'd actually say too for brands, because I don't know if you guys agree too, but for me, even within Clip, like if I'm going through brands and saying like, oh, what would be the right fit to actually like create content for, a lot of the time I'll be going through and I'll be like, okay, have they put it in? And it'll make me more inclined to apply if I know like really step back and why what they're after and what they want, compared to a brand that doesn't as much. And like, oh, if you don't know like what way do you want to do this?
I agree with what you said. Yeah, there are some times where I just won't apply because I think I can tell it's going to give me a headache trying to work out
Yes.
what you want.
Red
from
flags. Red flags.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I'm all for an easy life. So yeah, if it's not clear, then I'm a bit like, unless it's obviously something I really want to work in or a brand new niche or something like
Yeah.
that, then sure, I would probably think, okay, well, it would be worth the extra effort. But yeah, if a brand hasn't been clear, definitely makes me think twice about applying to work with them on a platform.
So I think for me, as we already kind of mentioned red flags, a very long chapter without any sort of breakdowns or, points or anything like that is one big red flag for me. And I would probably avoid working with a brief like that. So that's just, I guess that's for brands to understand that, it's called a collaboration for a reason, because it's two sides actually agreeing to working together. We want to make brands' life as easy as possible, making, as good video as possible in the first turnaround, so there's no revisions needed, because it does take time for brands to write those feedbacks, watch those videos and think about their USPs and their kind of mindset behind it. And also vice versa, it should work the same way, that the brand actually puts the effort in straight away with the brief. So I would definitely say that a structured brief, there are a couple of brands that I think we also mentioned in previous episodes that are really good with writing briefs. And whenever there's a new campaign, I'm always the first to apply, because I've worked with them before already and I know what they're after. But also the brief, if I saw it for the first time, I would also be like inclined to to apply for it.
Yeah, no, it's such a great point that you brought, Ali, because we sometimes have brands that are coming to us and be like, oh, we don't have enough creators, and I'm just going, okay, sometimes there will be situations where there won't be any, or there will be very, very few in their target market. It's very specific, like for example, males between, I don't know, 34 to 44 or something like that, and I'll be like, we have some but not enough. So those are very, very separate cases, but some of the cases will be like, okay, let me just have a look at their campaign and see what is happening there, and then just see this like massive like written there, and I'm just like, well, this might be the reason why I don't have enough.
There we have the brands, like, for creators, make it as easy as possible, because we will apply if we think it's straightforward. We will do the video, but also too for you, like, it's okay to imagine, okay, I have an idea in my head, I don't know how to execute it, put that in, and like we can follow that. That's our jobs to come up with. But give us some guidelines, because then more people will apply, you'll get something you're happier with, we'll be happy to working with you, because we'll be like, okay, we know what you want, and it'll be all good.
They don't need to have all of the answers straight away, but they've got to put that investment of their own time in to map it out first for us. Otherwise, they're not going to get that return on investment.
Don't be scared to ask brands questions. If you want to make your work as streamlined as possible, just drop them a message if there's anything that you're unsure of, or share your script, for approval before you send the video in. I think there's always ways to also streamline your process as well. And to basically, the goal for both sides is as little revisions as possible.
So Amy, I have a question for you as well. So you get a brief, you're like happy, ready to go. What is your actual routine, I guess, for starting filming? What do you do?
So I always write a list of everything I want to film, so all of the B-roll shots I want to get, I'll write them out, what they are, all the product shots, all the different angles I want to get. I'll even write down voiceover or talk to camera, so that I can then tick it off once I've done it. So I've got a whole list of everything that I want to film, because I realised very quickly, if I don't do that, and I'm just like, oh yeah, let's film this shot, or oh yeah, let's do this while I'm doing it, it takes me twice as long. And then chances are I'll be editing it and I'll go, oh shoot, I've not got enough footage to use as an overlay on this.
Yes,
so, which is the worst. So yeah, I always have a list. I have lists of lists. It's how I function.
No, that's really interesting. So I think from that, then you have your shot list, and then you have your voiceover, and you learn that off. And then when it comes to actually editing the video, because say for example you've got a day that you're filming multiple videos, how do you go about managing that then too?
I tend to film all and then edit. But it can vary. It depends on what kind of time I've got. But sometimes it will just make sense if it's a nice day and I've got a nice backdrop, for example, then I'll film everything all in one go. Yeah, and because I think editing, you can do that when the sun's gone, especially in this country in the winter. We have about 3 hours of night daylight, it feels sometimes. So in those instances, I will definitely get as much filming as I can, and then I'll edit, because chances are on the days that, because I have got another job, I can edit around that job. You know, I can do that of an evening, I can edit in my lunch break, etc. But it's harder to film a video in those periods because you're rushing. A little while ago, I had to film myself crying in a graveyard.
What? Why did you say that was like your horror one? That's what was the like niche?
There was so it's like these things that you can put. It's a really cool idea. You can put them on a gravestone, and it's like a QR code. You scan it, and then it will show you like pictures and videos of the person who's died. It's a bit morbid, but kind of.
Oh. No, I get that, yeah.
It was just a random one, and I thought, okay, I need to pick a time when the cemetery's going to be quiet, otherwise it's going to look really weird, me like fake crying to people who are genuinely.
Oh, God love you.
Yeah, so
the question is, did you actually shoot like someone's like grave, or?
I did, but from behind, so that you couldn't see the person's name.
Okay.
Yes, I'm famous.
Otherwise, I'm there like crying in front of Margaret's grave or whoever, and yeah, it was around. But after that, I was like,
it's fine. It was her dream to be famous.
Afterwards, I was like, there's no way I can go into the mentality of filming for some bread. Do you know what I mean? It's just like, no. Yeah, so that one I did.
No sourdough today, sorry guys.
Oh, good. And on that line of like weird places you've had to film, is that the weirdest, or has there been any other weird things that you've had to do for scenes?
That's probably the weirdest. Yeah, I've got to go like fake camping. Oh, yeah. This brand said, they were like, we need some like festival or camping scenarios. Have you got any coming up? And I was like, I haven't. But I've got a tent, and I'll just pretend I'm camping. I'll pitch myself up in a field. I don't have a tent. I don't know how I'm going to get a tent, but I said I did. Yeah.
You know, like at Decathlon, they sometimes have like tents up, don't they?
Yeah, but I feel like that's a good point. Imagine me outside of Decathlon, just like setting up my tripod.
Like, so guys, just a little bit of UGC here. It's all good.
Yeah. That's what I like about UGC. No 2 days are the same. There's all these interesting things that you get pulled into, and I think you're either a person who loves routine and structure every day, and over the last 10 years I finally realised I'm not that person. I like to do something different every day, something exciting, and when a brand turns around to me and says, cry in a graveyard, I think, okay, well, I'll roll my acting skills out today, and it's
perfect. I was just gonna say that, like, speaking of like funny scenes and situations, I remember once I was recording a video for like bloating solution or whatever, and I was recording a voiceover, and genuinely I do get bloated, so that was quite easy for me. But there was a moment in the voiceover, in the script, when they asked me to say that there were like, girls know that I can't go dancing after food, so like we wouldn't get food after cocktails, or like we wouldn't go dancing after food. And I recorded it and it was fine, I forgot about it. And then my husband goes, oh, you don't go dancing after food, don't you? And now he's just taking a piss every time from that one video. It's just like, oh, no dancing then, because you're bloated.
And I think, Amy, to end our episode 2, what would you say is your favourite thing about UGC, or has been about it?
Aside from the actual doing the work, I think it's the people you meet along the way and the doors that it opens. I don't know another community other than the fellow UGC creators. We all band together, we've got each other's back, we support each other. The minute you post something online, everyone's thinking, this is great, well done, etc. And I don't see that very often, and I don't think I've felt that in any other kind of setting. So I would definitely say it's the people you meet along the way, because they make it a lot less isolated, because it can be lonely being a UGC creator every single day, and especially when your friends and family, they don't get it. As much as they try and
They do not.
they go, how's your little videos today, or how's your influencing today? And my family have now taken
how's your bloating?
Yeah. Exactly, and that's what made me think of it, because I mean, my family, they now call it adverts. They say, "Oh, you still creating adverts?" And I think, well, that's a bit close, I suppose, to what it is. But in the beginning, they just don't get it, and so I feel you get judged quite a lot because of that as well.
Yeah.
So I definitely think the best thing about it is the people you meet along the way, because they're the ones who are going to lift you up and help open doors with you.
And thanks for being such an amazing creator on the platform.
Thank you. That means a lot, and I thoroughly enjoyed talking to you. I've really enjoyed this. Happy to come on again in the future if you'll have me. I'd love that.